How do you make co-working work? The way we work is constantly shifting and changing. Companies, entrepreneurs, and individuals are moving to co-working facilities. By 2022, over 5 million people will be working in co-working facilities. In this series, we're going to explore how to make co-working work for you. Hey guys, how's it going? We're here today with Syya Yasotornrat, the founder of Innovation Media Enterprise. All right, so Syya, thank you again for being a part of the show. Really appreciate you taking time out to meet with me. And I'm very interested in learning more about you and some of the things you're doing, things that your company's doing. All of it's phenomenal from what I've read. And so I want to share part of your story with our audience also. So let's kind of jump into things this way. Kind of first, tell us a little bit about how you made that transition from being in sales, working for another company, to starting your own business, because that's a little bit of a leap, right?
Yeah, it is. My very first job was actually working for the Disney Corporation. And so straight out of high school, and I learned a lot from them. And you learn a lot about the customer experience. And I think it was a natural progression as I finished college to want to work with people.
Right.
Boy, was I foolish. But no, so after working at Disney and understanding the customer experience and the value of leaving a positive impression, I thought sales was a natural progression, and I fell into technology corporate sales. So my first job was with a network security company called SonicWall, and from there I got recruited into working with Hewlett Packard. Nice. So for 20 odd years I've been working in tech sales. All different types of facets within sales. There's channel sales management, account management, direct sales, all that stuff. So after 20 plus years in the industry, I just itched for something new. Yes. And the whole world of podcasting has been fascinating to me. I'm a huge advocate and fan and listener to begin with. But I saw a real big gap where business branded podcasts could actually make an impact. Now that I think we're hitting that threshold where most of the population is listening to podcasts now, social media is supporting it. I think we're at that right tipping point. Right. The fact we're having a conversation here should be a testament, right? Because
I mean, we're here right now in your studio.
Oh, correct? Yeah, we're in my studio. Yeah, he's selling for me. Clearly, I'm a good salesperson.
Yes. And so tell us about the company that you started. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure. So my business partner, Erin Greger, is a serial entrepreneur. I like to make fun of her because she's got like 8 things going on, but I like to think we're her core business. We started Innovation Media Enterprises. And what that is we are a business-branded podcast consulting company. Okay. We do focus on businesses to help them, disseminate their value and create a loyal brand awareness through podcasting. That includes everything from strategy consulting, full production services, as well as marketing for podcasting specifically. Okay. So consider us more like an augmentation to an existing marketing agency, or maybe a marketing department where they just cannot, allocate more resources to podcasting. We're like that extra person, if you will.
Gotcha. So you can handle all of it from beginning, from the point that the person sits in the seat, you record, marketing, helping them with the distribution, contacts.
Yes, absolutely. Fantastic. Yep. So depending on the level of service they want, we will help them find, if they want to have a host, hired voiceovers, etc. We will absolutely do that. I mean, it goes full in depth depending on the type of podcast format. Okay. Right. Okay. And yes, before they even sit down, you still got to talk about strategy and the business proposition and the value. And we help build business cases to create a podcast.
And so we're talking a lot about podcasts. Tell our audience just a little bit more about podcasts and what constitutes a podcast in a way.
Thank you for asking, because it's a pet peeve of mine. So to me, there is a very big differentiator of what a podcast is versus a video. Okay, so video distribution are different mechanisms from podcasts. So to me, it's the distribution of which that content gets out and disseminated across social media, for example. So video, you think of something like a YouTube, right? But that's one platform. and then you have to physically push it out to other platforms, such as like if you want to create something for LinkedIn videos, right, or Facebook or Insta, or and these days, depending on your focus of your business or yourself, TikTok, because now
Right.
you've got Gen Zs that are 21-year-olds now, right? Podcast, you load up the audio to a hosting platform. That hosting platform then distributes to the players that you're used to listening to, like the iTunes, the Googles, the Spotifys of the world, for example. And so that's very different. And then also think about podcast as a easier and faster way to receive entertainment. So if you are driving a car, do you really want someone on YouTube watching a video, right?
Yeah.
Or quite frankly, you could just listen to a YouTube, absolutely, but
Yes.
you're streaming it. There's no download potential or capability, or if it is, MP4s are huge files versus MP3s or a WAV file, which you could download tons of podcasts.
Sure. Yeah, I was just talking with a buddy of mine yesterday. He's like, "Oh, Mel, I was checking out your video, the interview that you did. I was listening to it in the car."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, I need to go ahead and get this in a podcast."
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
you could take existing video content and
Yes.
strip it down to the MP3 file and then produce a podcast. Now, the only thing is, and that's what I do love about podcasts, because you can remarket, you can cut it and make snippets of it, and it gives its leg as far as from a marketing perspective. So there have been clients that have produced a podcast a year ago and are still getting clients brand awareness because
Wow.
it's got longevity. It's the best bang for your buck from a marketing perspective.
Okay. And so, can you tell us a little bit about, so let's say you've convinced a client says, "Yes, I want to do a podcast."
Yes.
What are some of the things that they will need to go do?
First and foremost, you need to understand why you're doing a podcast. We call it the why, right? Who is this for? What's your audience, and what is your purpose of it? So why are you doing it? Who's it for? What's the intended audience? Do you even know who your audience is? Okay, because it is not an ad. I know some people treat podcasts like ads. It is not an ad. Okay, so you have to think about this. If you are a speaker and you're talking to 1,000 people in a room, what are you going to say to them? That's
Right.
what a podcast should be.
Okay. And so with that being said, so it's not an infomercial. You're actually providing content that a person can use and or go do something with versus saying, "Come buy from us, come buy from us, come buy from us."
Exactly. So, I mean, think of it again this way is you want to send some value, you want to create loyalty, you want recognition, and you want to establish credibility.
Yes.
But I've been kind of talking about external facing podcasts. Don't forget that you can apply this internally to train, educate internally just as much as externally. So there's a lot of different applications to podcasts that businesses need to consider.
And so with that, so what are some additional trends when it comes to podcasts? So you said internal, external, but what about listening habits or styles or?
So that's a fun thing is you can have, depending on the format of podcast, there is a huge growth on fiction and nonfiction storytelling podcasts. So I love this resurgence because I love hearing 40s radios. But you could have a branded podcast to say, let's say, GE did their own podcast, and it was actually a fictionalized series. Had nothing to do with GE,
Right.
but they sponsored it, and because of it, people actually, that was like the first of the podcasts that people recognized that, oh, GE's putting their hat in the ring for a podcast.
Okay, wow. All right, so Company X has decided to do podcasts. They figured out their why. Now what?
So, okay. So, I mean, there's, again, let me put it to this way.
Yeah.
There's a lot of production that goes into this. When I say production, I'm talking about your pre-production. You have to story arc this. You can't just wing it. Even if it's interview style, which is pretty straightforward, you still got to do research and understand who you're talking to, what the topic is, and what the focus is. That's the easy part. Sitting down here talking is the easy part.
Gotcha.
Okay?
Yeah.
The hard part is the post-production. You want to make sure your sound quality is correct. You want to make sure that the editing for it is not going to be jumpy and jolting to the ear, for example, right? And I think that's where a lot of folks misstep is, maybe I'll just take my cell phone and record, which you could.
Yeah.
But just remember, this is your brand. right? And this is how you're going to build credibility for your business. We tend to emphasize you could do it for on the cheap, but there's a cost for that, right? So you get what you pay for.
Yes.
The other thing though is the post marketing. That's probably the biggest gotcha. So what? I've seen a lot of businesses throw up video podcasts and then they get upset saying there's no return on investment.
Yeah.
Well, where's your marketing strategy after the initial post and launch? How? Because podcasts is about consistency. It's about your audience expecting more information from you, whatever it might be, and that's what builds loyalty and brand awareness.
Gotcha. And so, does a person have to release one every week, or can they do one like once a month, or?
Nope. You can have it as serialized as you, or you can have it weekly or bi-weekly. I recommend bi-weekly as the longest separation between. You could do monthly, but really you're going to build an audience that way.
Yeah.
Right? So you could, if you're not sure about the longevity of your podcasts, then my suggestion is to do seasons.
Okay.
That way it gives you like a toe in the water, right? To say, okay, I'm going to try 10. And if it's successful, then you can do it again. But you're also giving your audience an expectation that there's a start and a finish.
Gotcha.
So they don't think you quit.
Okay.
So that's my
because
recommendation.
like some of the ones I've listened to, they kind of break it up just like that. Like you have season 1 and you can download 10 of them at one time, or
Right. And again, that's also if you're not sure about your budget, that's what we recommend.
Okay. And so it sounds like there's a lot of steps to be done in there, right? And so if a person is non-techie,
Like me.
yeah,
Woo! You don't want me touching the soundboards.
what should they do?
So, like I said, you could produce a podcast very simply. There's free software out there. But how much effort do you want to put in? Because your time is your own money as well.
Correct.
Obviously, for me, selfishly, we do have services. There are tons of editing, post-production podcasts out there, services out there.
Yes.
And so for business professional podcasts, we highly recommend you outsource it. Because your core business, let's say you're a dentist. I don't need you to be Mr. Pro or Mrs. Pro, podcaster. I'd like you to be Mrs. Pro dentist, right?
Sure.
So do the math. If it costs more time to produce a podcast, then offload it, right? And do it right, then offload it. So we highly recommend, even if you want to record it yourself, then send it off to someone else to edit it, and or do the marketing for you.
Yes. Okay.
So.
Fantastic. And so, anything else that companies should consider going into and starting to do their podcast?
The biggest thing is understand you need planning. You need to make sure you know what you're doing. Quite frankly, like anything, any project that you roll out, you need to be able to establish a beginning and an end and know the storyline that you're going to go. Even if it's interview format, you still need to story arc the content, because it's easier for the ears to psychologically hear a beginning and an end. Okay. And the more sophisticated your podcast is, if you decide to do a storytelling podcast, then that's a lot of pre-planning before anyone sits in front of a mic.
Sure.
And then, of course, again, it's all about post-marketing. It's not just that, hey, I just punted it out there this one day. Why is no one listening to it? This is a failed project. I don't know if you have heard the statistics, but it used to be humans need to hear something 3 times in order to remember something. In this digital age where we're bombarded with content, 17 times.
Wow.
Now. So, so imagine this 17 times. You need to actually, how do you remarket? Podcasts are the best solution because you can actually do audiograms. There's different formats to actually give longer legs to the exact same content. You're just parsing it out.
Okay. Now, I'm going to ask a little bit of a different question since this series is called Coworking with Mel.
Oh, yeah.
And we actually met here. You conducted a seminar. I think I might have been asking too many questions or talking too much in it. I don't know. But afterwards, we had a conversation. And we were like, hey, I want to have you on the show and so forth. But curious, when it comes to co-working, and we're here at City Central in Dallas, how has being in this facility or this type of facility helped you grow your business?
Well, I could definitely say it's 100% helped me. So we actually entered into a partnership with City Central.
Okay.
We were looking for a studio for our own podcast, Innovation Calling, which focuses on emerging technology and business, and also our consulting business. We needed a home base outside of our closet.
Yes.
Probably not the most professional thing. So we were looking at spaces, and quite frankly, in our discussions with the City Central team, hey Mark, we really liked the story of City Central, and we just gelled very well together, and we decided to collaborate. So this podcast studio is actually a collaboration between City Central and Innovation Media Enterprises. So, and we do a lot of events in our relationship. So we have a monthly Women in Tech Leadership series that we do downstairs at the North Dallas location. And actually, we do lots of events. So just recently, we did the Business Podcast Forum. We hosted that.
Sweet.
And that went swimmingly well. So it looks like we're going to do it again.
Okay,
So.
fantastic, fantastic. And so a couple real quick questions for you. How can people connect with you?
Everywhere. We are on LinkedIn Live. You can connect with me on LinkedIn for sure.
Yes.
At Syya Yasotornrat. And also Facebook, Insta, I am S. Yaso.
Okay.
You won't find me. Okay, I might be on Snapchat, but I don't know my login anymore.
Yeah. All right. So they look for you on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
They'll start from there.
Yes.
And last question for you. What advice do you have for those business owners out there?
Oh, I have so many, but the biggest thing is be brave and get yourself out there. And the fastest way to get yourself out there is through podcasting. It's the most cost-effective marketing tool out there. And be yourself. People want to buy from people they know or work with people they know. So by all means, do it.
Okay. Well, again, thank you. Thank you for the advice. Thank you for the information. We appreciate it. And guys, thank you also for watching. Again, continue to subscribe to the channel and connect with Syya online. All right? Thanks. See ya. Bye-bye. Hey, thanks again, Syya, for taking time to meet with us. Enjoyed our conversation. And again, follow her on LinkedIn and some of the other places that she mentioned. And please subscribe to this channel and also share this content with your friends. Thanks, and I'll see you next week.